Welcome to the fastest stop in town. Today we'll start this Shavuot Daf Lamed Beis. We are going to begin on Lamed Aleph Amud Beis by the Mishnah toward the bottom. It says the Mastisim. So the Mishnah tells us the following case. Shavuot Eidos Ketzad. What exactly is the law when it comes to someone who's going to be chayav carbon oil v'yayirid by falsely making some type of a shvuah regarding to testimony? So Ketzad. So Amr Shnayim. If you say to two people, go and testify for me, because you know some type of information. So the respondent said, I swear I have no idea, I don't know any edus. Oh, Shiamrlo, they said to him, you don't know any testimony, then swear to me if that's the truth. In these cases, you're going to be chayav. Let's look at Rashi. We don't know. Would you swear to me that that's the truth? And the answer remain, you'll be chayav. So it says Rashi, if they were silent, even though you think maybe shtuki kadah, but in that case, they're not going to be chayav. Because they didn't actually use the lashon shvuah, the fact the other guy did, doesn't make them chayiv. Let's say it happens 5 times and they make a shvuah, but it's chutz l'beistin, not in the beistin, uvola beistin. Then all of a sudden they enter the beistin, bahodu, and then they admit. So paturin says Rashi, v'afil kafru chutz l'beistin al kol shvuah. Even if they deny multiple times, there's no din of kfir outside the basin. It doesn't mean anything. It has to be done in the basin. Therefore, kafru chayavin al kolach v'achas. If they were kafir in basin, they're going to be chayav on every single one, on every kfir. Then the Mishnah says, Heshmiel lehen hez pamim bibnei basin. Let's say they made a shvuah 5 times in basin, the kafru and they were kafir. In that case, you're only chayav 1. Says Rashi, why in chayav el achas? Why only 1? I feel shosku v'kafru b'soif. V'lo reading kfir kaima kulu. Why don't we say it works for all of them? You should be chayav all 5. Because ein yichon laksel hoydais. Says Rashi, il kafir b'rishayna. If you would have denied the first. Since now they're in Basin, they can't testify anymore. We say, once you speak once, you can't say again. Hilkach, therefore, says Rashi, even though they didn't deny at the end, everything except for the first one is batal. She'im, and says on the side, Shesiskan, if they were silent, once that happened, and they're not fit to make a shvuah. When it says you're chayiv on each one, a shvuah chutz beistin, we're talking about when you made the shvuah outside of beistin, the kafir b'beistin, and then you actually are kafir in beistin. So Costa the shvuas the chutz u'beisin shohay mashmiin she'evul u'beisin ve'idu lo yatzel vatal v'ru'is l'chalik shohay afil kafru sham b'rishayna hayroy l'achsel ashmian. Okay. All right. So let's keep on moving. So again, if you make a shvuah 5 times in base and you're kaifer in base, then you only have 1. Amar Shimon Matam. Hayol, since the enim yuchayin l'achsel l'hoydos, because once you made it once, you can't do it again. Never you only have on the first one. Kafru shnein ke'echad. Let's say you're kaifer 2 like 1. Rashi says taikadi dibur. You said you're kaifer twice within a short time frame. So shneim chayavin. So then you're chayiv on both. B'zachar zeh. If you made a shvu, you're kaifer, but not within this time frame, Harishon Chayev Ashini Potter. So there's only considered like 1 edus. It's only on the first one you're chayev, but you're potter on the second. Rashi explains Once you're kai for the first one, shuv ein eid yechidi roy lahagid. So now there's only one witness left, and therefore you cannot. It doesn't work. So therefore you're not going to be chayav on the second, only the first. All right. Let's see the Gemara. Omer Shmuel, Ru'uhu Shirot Achrein. Let's say you see that the claimant is running toward you. Amelo Mata Rotz Achrein. What are you doing running over here? So Shmuel Shein Anu Yodim V'Chaedus. I swear that I don't know any testimony. So Peturin Ad Sheyishma Mepiv. You're patur until you actually hear from his mouth. Until he actually hear him say, "Come and testify." So my kamash montanina. Where do you learn? It says like this: Shilach biad abdoi. Says Rashi hatoiveya. The claimant is mashpia in biad abdoi. She'omer lehen hanitva, or he said to the nitva, mashpia nialechem. If you know any testimony, you should come and testify against me. So Hariel Peturin. So even if they spoke falsely, but it wasn't from the claimant. So here he ran, but said nothing to them. So in this case, as we see, there's no din of kivan shehigid shuven echozer magid, as we said before, outside of court. This din only applies in court. The notion of kivan shehigid shuven echozer magid. So apparently, again, this whole notion of even if he's running toward you, you're going to be putter because you didn't actually say anything. So therefore, chayra, this is something which we've already learned a similar concept. So as we continue along in Beis Aleph, ad sheyishma pi hatoiveya, you actually have to hear it. So when it says over there is some chiddush if he's running toward you. It's like he's actually speaking. He's doing his body language. You would think is something. Body language is not enough. So we already know that it's totally on speech. So if you don't say anything, it's not going to work. So how do we understand this? It's a davar pashut that if you don't say anything, you're going to be potter. Amar lav dafka. So maybe when it says oimar, it's lav dafka. Maybe even if you're not speaking. When it comes to giving an object to the malvet, you have pikadon. Could I please have it back? So hachinami oimer in. If he says something like in denial, that's when he's going to be chayav for Shavuos pikadon. Lo omer lo, but it's not true. V'chichesh ba'mito koldahu. When it comes to Shavuos pikadon, it's when a person denies even a koldahu, which means even without a mirror. So maybe you would think that also, just like Shavuos pikadon, it's without a mirror, it still can be chayav. So too when it comes to our Mishnah as well, when we're talking about Shavuos Eidos, that maybe also is without a mirror. So maybe the oimar is lav dafka. Ella oimer lav dafka, achanam lav dafka. So it's possible that you can still be chayav even while speaking. So hi mai, iyamr bishlama. Even when I tell me our Mishnah that oimer the hacha dafka, that's only when it comes to Shavuos Eidos if you speak. Tana hasam ato hacha. So it's mentioned this way here that says Omar, Atu over there, where by Shavuos Pikadon, it's not necessary to have a mirror. So therefore we need to specify Omar over here. El Iyamar lo Oimar dahasam davka, lo Oimar dahacha davka. You want to tell me that the Iyamar lo Omar dahasam davka, lo Oimar dahacha davka. So why does it say these languages? it must be that it really is dafka by Shavuos Eidos. Moran says, no, Dilma Orcha de Milsa Kamashmon. Maybe this people usually speak up first this way. That's all it's coming to tell you. Tani goes to the Shmuel, Ra'u Shabach. If you see someone pursuing, Amrulo, and they say to him, Mata Ba'charein, what are you doing? Shmuel Shenani Yodim L'Cha'edus, doesn't know any Edus, Baturin, Ve'im B'Bikadoin Chayavin. So we see that there is this distinction between Shavuos B'Kadain, in which even without a mirror, but just his actions alone indicate something, but not by Shavuos Eidos. Not when it comes to Shavuos Eidos. Okay. All right. Let's see if we have a question here yet. Okay, let's keep on moving. Okay. Hishpielehim chamisha pamim. So it said if you made a shvua 5 times. So the Mishnah told us, but it was done outside of Beis Din, and then he comes into Beis Din, his maida is completely potter, because his shvua outside of Beis Din is nothing. So menolan dakvira b'Beis Din hu the mechayvi achutz l'Beis Din lo mechayvi. So we see again, if he makes this denial, right, outside of Beis Din that you're potter, but if it was kafru b'Beis Din, if he did it, right, chishpielehin heipam b'Beis Din, right, so you can be chayav multiple times, or maybe only once, but if you do it outside of Beis Din, it's nothing. So how do we know that? How do we know? Menolan the kfir b'Beis Din who the mechayvi achutz l'Beis Din lo mechayvi. Rabbi Amikra, because the pasuk it says imo yagid. If you don't say over the information that you know, but nasavaina, you can bear the sin. Lo marti locha el b'makom she'ilu magid zem ischayv zebam. It's obviously talking about only a situation where you're able to say something, and with your words you can be mechayv mammon. How you mechayv mammon on the street? It's only in a Beis Din. So therefore, the pasuk indicates clearly that the din of Shavuos ha'edus has to be that the shvu and the kfira, that you don't know anything, or you're denying that you know anything, isn't Beis Din. Okay. Yahachi Amo, we should say shvu gufa b'Beis Din in shlul b'Beis Din loy. Why do we say that if he denied 5 times out of the court, then denied in the court, he's chayav 5 times, but maybe his denial out of his court means nothing as well? Since it's l'achas, it's possible you can still be chayav multiple times. But if he did it all the time in Beis Din, he wouldn't be chayav all the time. But Tanan, as we learned, if he did it 5 times, means a shvua 5 times based on the kafru and chayav all achas. So it must be talking about a case where it was done outside of Beis Din for you to be chayav all 5 times. Because if you would have made those shvuas inside Beis Din, then you would only be chayav 1, but afterwards kivan shehigid shivin nechozer magid. But as you said, there is no din of kivan shehigid outside of the courts. It only applies in the courts, and therefore that's the reason why you would be chayav multiple times if you did the shvu or the kfir outside. So we learn out here what happens. The shvua that you make is chutz Beis Din, and then the kfira that you deny is in Beis Din. Kafir shnein ke'echad chayavin. So ha'iyat actual samsim. I understand. It says that if you do 2 at the exact same time, Shem v'zachem b'dibur echad. Rav Chisda Hamani Rav Yossi Glili near actual samsim. Rav Yossi Glili says you could cram it in there. Says Rashi. How do we see that this is what he holds? So the Gemara in Bechayr says, a Rachel Shloi Bichra. If you have a sheep which is not firstborn, the Yolda Shnei Zacharim, it gives birth to 2 males. Rabbi Yossi Hagui Omer Shneim L'Kayin. You have to give them both to a Kayin. The actual Samsem. It's possible they could have given these 2 animals birth at the same time. Shi'ayitzu Shneim Kiachad biachad roishim. Their head could have both come on at the same time. It's impossible that one didn't come out first. But echad enu b'chor, v'shneim safek, because we don't know. V'yirad sheet stavu, as we usually do. We usually wait and let it graze until it develops a mum. V'echad loy v'echad l'kayin. Then you give one to the kayin, one for yourself. However, basically holds actual samsim. So too over here, it's possible that you could have said this twice within a short time. Which is what we saw in Rashi. So it's not that you do both at the same time, but it just means the amount of time teacher speaks to his Rabbi and says Shom Alecha, a short amount of time. All it is how a student speaks to a teacher. Shom Alecha Rebbe, 3 words. Igdarad Kadei Shil is Harav Talm, which is only 2 words. So Adiyam is Shavuot She'en Ani Yoidem Lecha Eidos. 2 of them. It's a lot of words, a lot more than 2 or 3. So how can that be done? Toich di dibur. So Malay Kol Echad Echad Toich Dibur Shel Chaveroi. It doesn't mean you have to finish both of them. Toich di dibur. It means that you just have to start the second one basically immediately after you finish the first. So therefore they're linked. It's only when there's a gap of more than Toich di dibur, then that's where you would not be chayav multiple times. So Mastis Haitana. Our mission is not like the following Tana, the Sanya. Mashpia Eid Echad Potter. If Eid Echad makes a Shavuot, he's Potter from Karmel Yared, because he's not chayav him moment. The worst he could do is mechayav him a Shavuot. Rabbi Lezer, Rabbi Shimon mechayav. So Leim Hakim Efli. The Mar Savar Eid Echad Kiyasa Shavuot Dekasa. One holds that what can a witness do? He can mechayav you a Shavuot. Mar Savar Eid Echad Kiyasa Mamayna Kasa. No, actually, he can come and be mechayav you money. Says Rashi, Eid Echad Kiyasa L'Shuasi. He made a law of Shu Chayiv. You testify he's obligated $100 in a Mechayiv moment el Shvuah. So he has to swear to deny that. Lefikach ein Haggadah chashuva. That's not a chashuva Haggadah, and therefore you're not going to be Chayiv one witness. However, Marsav Moinasa v'darish Kra Hachi l'chol av l'chol chatas the Hainu l'makas oinchenoi who deinu kam avul kam hu a moment. So maybe he does have to pay. So no, that's not their machloek. Because it is Tizra, Yom Rabbi, Hakol Moedim Beid Echad, Hakol Moedim Beid. Let me read that again. Hakol Moedim Beid Saita, Hakol Moedim Beid Saita. Machloek is Beid Saita. This seems like some type of a riddle. So everyone agrees to the witnesses of a sota. Everyone agrees to the witnesses of a sota. There's an argument by the witnesses of the sota. So obviously there are 3 different things. So what does that mean? Hakol moedim be'ed echad, hakol moedim be'ed shekeneged choshev al shua. So everyone agrees when it comes to one witness that basically it doesn't work. Hakol moedim be'ed shekeneged choshev al shua, that he's not trustworthy. Elo de kol yama eid echad kiyasi l'shua kasi. Must be really. We're going to go back to what that means. Everyone holds really an Eid Echad can only be mechayav someone a Shavuot. The Hachava Kamefni Mar Savar Davar Garmal Mum Kamamadami, or Mar Savar Lav Kamamadami. So this is the idea, because when you're mechayav someone a Shavuot, you're not mechayav them money, because they could always make a Shavuot and that's it. But what if they don't make a Shavuot? If they refuse to swear to make a Shavuot, so then your testimony of one witness will be gairim for him to pay. The question is davar garma moment kamamadami to be chayiv aid shuas aidus. Okay, fine. So let's continue. Gufa oimer habaya koil might made be'aid saita v'kol might made saita v'machos be'aid saita. So hakol might made echad hakol might be'aid shechanegdu chashal shua hakol might be'aid saita shechayiv. So everyone agrees when it comes to one witness that you're chayiv. Hakol moedim be'ed saita shechayiv be'ed tuma. This is specifically if you have one witness that says that I know for a fact that she actually was with this man, says Rashi. Im haviu shnei edi kinoi. Actually, let's drachmana himnuhu. The Torah believes one witness over here. That said, the aid ainbo. There's no witnesses. Kol sheyeshva. All you need is any witness, and then that would be enough that she would maybe lose her ksuba. Okay, so let's. However, vakomoy ne be'edi saita, shapater be'edi kinoi tavi garim de garim. When it comes to, we'll see all these Rashis. So, what is the problem? There's edi kinoi, which basically is saying we warned, but they didn't actually, and therefore she needed to be warned, and therefore if she goes and secludes herself, which you'll have edi stira, then that information can be garim her to lose money that she was actually tameh. So it's a garim de garim. It's like a second step away when it comes to edi kino as opposed to edi steer, which is why. Let's turn to Amud Beis. We'll go back. That umachloikas be'edi soitim be'edi stira. Marsav davar garim u'maman kamaman dami v'chayev v'marsav lav kamaman dami upater. Okay. So, let's look at the top Rashi over here. There's Rashi over here in the previous Amud. So it says like this: Moedim be'edi echad mafarish la kaman hachi. Yesh eidos b'saita. There's sometimes testimony. Shakol moedim ba shehishpia eid echad. When one witness testifies, chayiv. Yesh eidos b'saita she'avim hishpia shnein. Even if two people testified, the kafru beturin. And we're going to say it's because it's garim l'garim. Umachleikas be'edi saita yesh edus b'saita shenachku b'chacham Rebbe Lezer. Again, that has to do with davar garim l'mamoin. Rav Shimon hemashmiya shnei hem v'kafru. Fine. The time to Rebbe Lezer mishum d'ksavar davar hagarim l'mamoin kamaman dami. And therefore, eid echad garim l'mamoin hu. Because why is it a garim l'mamoin? Because she'ilu who hayed, if he would have testified, then this guy would have made a shvuah. But let's say he didn't want to make a shvuah. Interesting language. Most people aren't going to lie. So therefore, by you being able to have testified alone, that could have made this person. That will make a person have to make a shvuah. And if he doesn't make a shvuah, he's going to have to pay. So that's a davar garim l'mamoin. So, is that considered kamaman dami in order to be able to say that you are chayiv karban lev yared by Shavuot Eidus? So, be'edi tuma, even one is going to be is believed. Im hevi shnei edi kinoi. So Rashi says if you have two edi kinoi, what happens? Shehisraba altisteri employee. So edi kinoi is don't seclude yourself with this guy. Rishnei edi stira, and there's two witnesses. Shenistera imoy acharkein. There's two guys that actually saw her being secluded with that guy. Yesh ed echad shenitmas b'stirazu, and there was a witness that actually saw that she was tameh, that she was intimate with that guy. V'yeshpia habal as eid la'ed. V'yifter miktubasa. Therefore, if this one guy gives edi toma, says edi toma, that will pater shalus ksuba, which is mamish mamoin. The kafrei duso chayiv domafsidu mamoin mamish. Okay. Then the Rashi says kol makom shemer eid shnayim kaimer ad shivdol chakasav echad. The kamarachmana ve'eid ein ba trei elachad. There's not two witnesses, but there's one. The hayil will nispasa asura. The karcha hayil loy nispasa lahachmela boil asura. Okay. Then the last Rashi says v'shema miyuras hamayim toida shenitma statistic subasa. She may admit and end up losing her ksuba. Okay, so let's get now to Amud Beis, and let's just look at this top Rashi. Machlokes be'edi saita b'mashpia eid echad shel mamad ba'isa machlokes atzmo chalukim hamashpia b'mashpia sheni shnei edi stiras site of a kafru. Okay, let's look at question 13. Let's look at question 14. Edi kinoi the sota, or edi stira the sota, ha'im chayavin mishum shvuas edus, or kfiris edusam amadua. So, edi kinoi, we already said is potter because it's garim de gairim, right? It's a second, more removed from mammon. Edi stira, as we said, is a machlokas, whether or not davar hagarim mammon is kamamon dami. Okay. Because she may end up admitting, and then she'll end up losing her ksuba, which is mammon mamash. Okay. Question 14. So how is it possible that one aid can be chayiv l'kuli alma? So we said, we already saw one, aid tuma desaita, right? If you know for a fact that she's tamei, and she's not going to end up drinking the water because of that. So therefore, because she may be scared and she's not going to want to drink, so she'll lose her ksuba. Okay, that's one answer. Another, kishishneim chashudin, in a case where you're chashud al shvua, so therefore that person can't make a shvua, and therefore they'll have to pay. Okay, that's what this is referring to. Everyone agrees also by the case of Rav Abba, which is going to be the case of Nascha the Rav Abba, which we'll hopefully get into. The chashid man. So what do you mean? Who's chashid over here? That we don't trust them. Like they're maybe nichshel. They're like Goslin. Ileim the chashid loive di aimer le malve. So that we're chashid the loive, the borrower. Di aimer le malve. He I says if it's true, sadly testify for me. So havi mishtabna v'shekilna. So the malve would have to make the shvur. In other words, if the lov is the one who is chayshid, so then what we do is we do the opposite. Even though normally we make a shvua to not pay, however, your chayshid will then turn the shvua to the malveh, and the lender will make a shvua and collect. V'leima le, let the witness say, mi yaimir de mishtabis. Who says that such a shvua should be made? You may not have made the shvua, says Rashi, v'kati garim l'mamanhu, davi, or Rabbanan Potter. It's still considered to be garim l'maman, according to the Rabbanan. Ela kagayin shishneim chashudin. We're talking about where the loiv and the malver chashud. The Yomi the Amar chaz shvua l'mechayev lo mitar shen yachal hashmiya mishalim. So again, if the loiv can make a shvua, we have to make a shvua, he doesn't have to pay. If the loiv is chayshid, the malver makes a shvua, and then he'll collect. But if the malva is also chayshid, so it goes back to the loiva, and therefore he'll be able to collect then too. The famous case where a person grabbed this piece of silver from his friend. It was in his hands. Also, there was a witness that came, the that grabbed it. You're right. I'm not disagreeing with the witness. I agree. But the reality is, I took what was mine. Told him of a tongue twister. How does a judge judge this judgment? Should he have to pay it? There weren't two witnesses that he took it. Liftere, to say that he just walks away, nothing. There is a witness that saw him grab it. Okay, so maybe he should make a shvua to be kaifer the words of the witness. Kivan diarmer in chatvi v'didi chatvi have like gazlan. So it doesn't mean he's a Goslin, but it means he has the same halachic status as a Goslin. Just like a Goslin is not able to make a Shavuot because he's Choshid, this guy also can't make a Shavuot, because the whole purpose of the Shavuot is to deny the witness's testimony. But he's saying, yes, I took it. So what is he going to deny? He's admitting that he took it. So therefore he wouldn't be able to make a Shavuot anyway. This guy is obligated to make a Shavuot, but he can't make a Shavuot because he admitted. Then is there's mechuyev Shavuot, and he doesn't make a Shavuot. Since he can't, he has to pay it back. So therefore, as Rashi says, she'ein kol hachaytfin nemanim loimer shli gazalti. The imkain inucha gazlan shemashalem befil yesh edim. You can always just pretend. You can always make this claim that I stole, but I didn't steal. It was mine. I took what was mine. So I could be a thief, steal whatever I want, and then I can always say, yeah, in chatvi l'didi chatvi, I took what was mine. So that would be another case in which an eidach would be mechayiv on kfiris edus, by the case of Naschad Rav Abba. Amur Rav Papa hakol moedim be'ed misa. Everyone else agrees when it comes to eid misa as well. What is that? So shahu chayiv, that you'll be chayiv in that case too. Bakol moedim be'ed misa shu potter. Everyone will agree that you are potter by eid misa. Bakol moedim be'ed misa shu potter di'ermelei l'didi. He told her di'emer law l'dida that they told that her husband died. V'amru bastin, but was not shared with bastin. Did not ha'isha she'amru, a woman who said, Meis Bailey, my husband died, tinase, she can get remarried. Meis Bailey, my husband died, tisyavim, then she can do yibum. She herself could testify, so therefore he is potter. Hakol moedim be'ed misa shuchayev deloi omer l'dida, that she didn't tell about her husband's death. Deloi omer l'hula bastin, and she didn't say anything to the bastin. So shmami no mashpia edi karka chayev. So what do we see from here? Says Rashi, and this is actually a machlokas tanoim and a marayim. It says ve'eda miti ad karkahu ed karka sheksuva eda nigvas element of karka. The ksuva is collected from land. And mishani dilma hadra papa dahavi tavsa mataltli de bal machayim. You could grab onto metaltlin in the lifetime of the person. Im heid zeidusin haisa tefusasan b'ksubasa. This is dilma de tefisa metaltli. Okay. So let's look at question 14 again. So one is one witness that says that she's tamei by saita, with both, let's say the loiv and the malv in that case were chayshid al shua, or the case of Naschad Rav Abba, he says in chatvu didi chatvi, or by the case of eid misa v'tfisa metaltali, and they grabbed hold onto the metaltalin. That would be another case. Okay, let's look at maybe a question here. TC29. I got this question wrong, unfortunately. Isha hamashbia eid misa. So, right, so you have a woman that testifies that her husband died. Okay. Be'ez oifen patul kolyama, be'ez oifen chayivu kolyama, be'ez oifen nechalku. So this is what we just saw. If she's the one who says it outside of based in uba based in loy amar patul kolyama, right? So this is what it said over here. Hakol moedim be'ed misa shu pater di omer lo l'dida v'loy omer lo based in. She told it. She said it over, but not in front of Bastin. So in that case, she's believed. Okay. It says Rashi, "V'afa gav de'ed echad neman be'ed asu v'efsida momon b'kfirasa kigoin yermelo l'dida chutz l'Bastin." So she said this out of Bastin. That means by lecha. Someone said your husband died. Lomer edusa bebeis was never studied in Beis Din. She could have gone to the Beis Din, the Lomer meis baili, to say my husband's dead. The point is, the reason why this guy who testified and said your husband died chutz Beis Din, the reason why you're putter is because she could have done the exact same thing. Dinan isha shamra, v'hi atzma nemenas. She herself is believed. Okay. When are you going to be chayev? If, let's say, it wasn't sent to her and was not in Beis Din, and if you're typhus metaltalin, you're going to be chayev l'kuli alma. But if you're not typhus metaltalin, it's a machlokes the mashpia edi karka. Okay, not the easiest answer. That's probably why I got it wrong. TA 26. Mashpia edi saita havi puta b'gemara him chayevin shvos edus be'ez edus mayri iri b'hay puta ve'ez edus ukuli alma paturin. Okay, so that we saw already along with Beis Amud Aleph. So when we're dealing with a day stira, so that's where there's a machlokas if you hold davar garam mamam kamam dami. By 80 kinoi, everyone holds that you are potter because it's a garim de gairim. Okay, that is question TB26. TB26, similar to question 13. TB26. Okay. TA26, I meant to write. TA26. Okay. TB. Hakol moedim b'sheknegden choshenol shvu shechayev. Madua chayev olem alei miyemer demishtabo. Right? So, why can't the Malva make the shua? So this is what I wrote. Kishishneim chashudan al shua. Ve'ein echad bo l'chayev shua v'zeh garim amamen kamamen dami. Okay, beautiful answer. That was question TB27. That is TB27. TB27 when shneim chashudan. Okay. All right, let's keep on moving. So then the Gemara says like this: Cover echad v'hoido echad v'chulu. So let's see what this says over here. So the Mishnah said that if you're denied one, you admit the other one, so a kaifer chayiv. So you're going to be chayiv on the kfira. Okay, so says the Gemara, hashda b'zachar if they were done one after the other to divide kakafri, where you were kaifer on both, but they were not done teichadi dibur, let's say. So Amid Harishon Chayav Ashini Potter, you're Potter in the second one over there. So cover Echad, B'hoidu Echad, B'boy, obviously you're going to be Potter on, you only be Chayav one. Well, Svicha Gain Shikafru Shneyan, you're attacking really Kaifer on both of them. B'chazer Echad Mehen, and you're retracted by one. B'hoidu B'teichadi dibur. B'kamashmun Teichadi dibur Kadibur Dami, and therefore, even though you were Kaifer twice, but since you immediately were Haida, so you're only Chayav on one. Now, Bishlam Rav Chisda, the Michael who Rabbi Yosef Galili. I can understand if you like Rabbi Yosef Galili who's Avshal Samsim. Reishi Avshal Samsim is saying for Israel Lashminon, the Tarkani Dibur, Gadibur Dami. So it's coming to tell us these things. El Rabbi Yochanan, Reishi Tarkani Dibur Dami, Sefer Tarkani Dibur, Tartu Lamli. Why need the same idea? So we do. That's only time if you have two similar things within a time frame. Of a kavir b'hoidah imalon kamashmon. When you say two separate things, maybe not kamashmon, it still works. How you shtei kiti edim? You have two groups. Kafar harishayna v'achal kafar shniya. The first group is kaifer, then the second one is kaifer. So the Mishnah said, how you shtei kiti edim kafar harishayna v'achal kafar hasheni shteyan chayavais. Both are chayiv, because both of them were yachal eskayim. Okay, so what does that mean? So let's see the Gemara. So bishlam mishniya mistischayiv dikaparlo rishayna. I can understand why the second one is chayiv because of the kfir of the first. El rishayna The first group that's chayev, amai. Why should they be chayev? We just continue Lamed Gimel and Aleph. Hakaima shnia. Says Rashi, Umah have siduhu harishainim. What are they causing a loss? What happened was that the second group, b'shas kfiras of the Rishayna, they were related to their through marriage. And the women were dying. They didn't die, says Rashi. Nosu shtei achayos, they were married to two sisters. Because of that, they couldn't testify. Echad nimsa shlo haylo edus kishikafer harishayna. So it wasn't edus when the first kfira took place. Elohim lovadam, just them themselves. Lamisa, the women were dying. So it's kilu mesu. Maybe they're dead. The tipater kat rishayna do kaima kat shnia. Kamashmon hashdemia halo shochiv v'lamadcha shagaisis harihu kaichi l'chol devarav. He's like they're like alive and strong. Yafal pi sheruban lamisa. Even though the majority of them will die, we don't say that they're considered like they're dead now. Okay. Let's see. Iboilhu mashmiya edi knas. And then do that. TB 28. Iboilhu mashmiya edi knas. TC 30. Hayishtei kate ki de'edim kafari shaina v'yacha kafar hashniya shteim chayavos. Madua chayavos harishaina hari kishikafar harishaina kat shniya kayamas. So this is what we just saw. This is a great question. This is TC 30. And the answer is, we're talking about Shayikroivin b'nashai sehen, they were related. B'nashai sehen gaisasais, and their wives were dying. So the question is, are they considered to be kroivim or not? Because if they die, then not. Kamashmon de after roiv gaisas lamisa akati lo shochiv. Right? So therefore, that's how we understand. So let's see the Gemara again. Let's make sure we understand this. This is TC 30. So, again, what does the Mishnah say? If you have two groups of witnesses, the first group is kaifer, then the second one is kaifer. So we say the din is that shtem chayavos. So both of them are going to be chayiv. Okay. Fine. So the question is, Bishul Mashniach Teschayev, I understand the second group, the Kafalo Rishayna, because of the first group, says Rashi, the Elo Edim El Elu. So these are really the only witnesses, because the first ones were found to be wrong, so therefore now the second ones are the one who actually caused the problems. El Rishayna Amai. Why should the first group be Chayev Hakaima Shnia? So, therefore, the second group, which is a good group at the time of their testimony, so therefore, those people were already going to be causing her to lose money. Not him, not the first group. So again, it's possible that since they're krivim, right, so because of that, you would think that maybe, again, it's lamisa, maybe the first group is completely potter, because of the second kat. So the chiddush is that no, they're in fact going to be chayev. Ad kan.